So just looking around you right now, wherever you are, notice if you can see anything behind your field of vision. You might imagine that you have a black inside of the head or some negative void behind you, but can you actually see that? Can you actually experience it in any way? Or is that just another thought image that has no correlation to your actual experience? Don't take my word for it. Just try it out for yourself right now. Is there anything in front of you? If there's something in front of you, then doesn't that imply that there is something behind you? Where is the front? Isn't everything just kind of appearing in this space? As you look forward, you're looking through what seems to be this distant three-dimensional world, but in actuality, where is the implied depth behind you that would then stretch out? It's hard to point at. So if we're assuming that there is some sort of depth going from where the front of your body begins out into the street in front of you or the room in front of you, we automatically assume that there must then be that same amount of infinite space or that same amount of room somewhere behind us. But does it actually feel that way in your direct experience? Does it feel like maybe at first everything stretches out in front of you, but behind you is just a solid wall of nothing? So investigate that. See if that really seems to be the case. What are you using in your experience to posit that there is a solid wall of nothing behind you? Does it kind of fall away and disappear when you actually look for it? And when I say look for it, I mean, don't literally try to roll your eyes backwards or, feel into what is giving you that illusion, that suggestion. You might notice that there's a thought image in your mind that is claiming this to be the case. You might find that there is just this kind of hazy image of blackness floating somewhere in the mind. But is it real? Is it trustworthy? So then, if you have more or less disabused yourself of the implied sensation that there is sort of a void behind you or some sort of a wall of nothing behind you, and that all there is this kind of infinite world stretching in front of you, turn your attention now to that infinite world stretching in front of you. Without straining your eyes, without attempting to focus on anything really up close and in particular, just kind of take in the entire vista, whatever you can see. If it's a wall, that's fine. If it's a whole landscape, that's also great. Doesn't matter. Might be a little bit easier if you are looking at something with a little more distance, but either way will work. Just notice how it is that you are assuming that length of distance stretching in front of you. Don't let your rational mind chime up and say, well, of course I know that that tree is 100 yards ahead of me. It doesn't matter. That's just thought. In your actual experience right now, and what you can see, where is that tree or that wall or that TV or that lamp or whatever you're seeing in the distance from you? What are you relying on to gauge a sense of distance? And you might notice that there are very subtle things, like maybe one object appears to be in front of another, or you can see the difference of shading of light and dark depending on where the sun or moon or other internal lighting is casting shadows or bright spots on objects. And our brain then takes that and interprets that as three-dimensionality. But that's all an unconscious process that's happening. In your actual experience, where are these things appearing? Are they really across the room or across the field? Or are they somehow indistinguishably close? So close that they are indistinguishable from where you think you are. Notice if you have any internal sense of a thought image that is laid over top of what you're seeing, that's giving some sort of sense of distance or space to a world that otherwise might look completely flat and two-dimensional. Like a painting that's drawn without the perspective. So as you do this, you might find that things look a little wonky. The proportions of objects might not be quite what you thought they were, because they are being seen on one flat two-dimensional plane the way you were really seeing them. The brain then takes that two-dimensional view and essentially processes it to put it into a three-dimensional context, so that you know that you can sit down in a chair and pick up a glass and drink water out of it. And it doesn't matter whether those things are still functional. This is to loosen up that sense of there being a subject in the world who is separate and distant from everything else around it. On a practical level, yes, there are bodies and cars and trees, and you can still make use of those things. But the feeling of being a separate, vulnerable creature doesn't need to be there. Because it's that vulnerability, that separation, that is the root of so much of our suffering. If you are a separate creature, then you have to be fearful. If you're a separate creature, you need to get something and keep that thing and keep it away from all of the other separate creatures who might want to take it from you. When you're a separate creature, you are always under threat of attack and danger. Can you relax that sense? Can you feel that spaciousness when what you thought was some black wall behind you is no longer there? And when what you think of as distance stretching in front of you is actually a two-dimensional image, even closer than your own nose. When you are right in the center, and that's not even right, because there is no center to the experience, but when you are right in and of that experience, and that experience is just what is there, where is the fear? Where is the separation? Where is the threat that you have to avoid and hide yourself from? Can you just open up to whatever's there? Let go of your walls. Let go of your boundaries. We started out talking about the separate self, but these things have a way of taking their own directions. And today seems to be a day of non-duality. So let whatever is there just come in and realize that if there is no subject, there is no you apart from anything else, how is there an enduring self in the midst of any of that? Where can it possibly be hiding? Is the self the flagpole across the street? Is the self somewhere embedded in the road? Is the self in the feet who are walking on the road? A lot of us feel like the self is somewhere behind our eyes. But can you even tell where your eyes are when there's nothing behind or in front of you and there is no centrality to your vision? What meaning does that even have anymore? It's okay to let go into this. If any sort of fear sensation arises, it's okay for it to be there. You don't have to fight it. It won't last long. It means you're on the threshold of something wonderful. Anxiety and excitement are basically the same sensation in the body. Maybe you're just getting them confused. Where are you right now? I'll see you soon.